Hi, I'm Pastor Kurt, and this is your 5-minute Bible study. Today, we're going to be looking at Matthew chapter 5, verses 21 through 37. This is a continuation of the Sermon on the Mount, and this section deals with some everyday stuff. Things like anger and adultery and divorce and oaths. Sometimes people think that the stuff in the Bible doesn't connect to our lives today. But sometimes it is very clear how it connects to our lives today. These are things that we deal with: anger, adultery, divorce, oaths, or promises, right? So let's look at each one of these things. One thing to notice here is that there's a little refrain going throughout this section where Jesus says, "You have heard it said, ... but I say to you." In other words, you've heard this said about the law, but I say this to you. And what Jesus says actually ups the ante on the law. It almost makes it more serious. So, for example, when Jesus talks about anger, he says, "You have heard that it was said, 'You shall not kill.'" But then Jesus goes on to say that even anger is as bad as killing. Well, today we might think, no, it's not. Being angry at somebody is not the same as killing them. You can be angry at somebody and not take their life. There are probably plenty of times that happens, that you've been angry but you haven't killed somebody. Well, Jesus says that even that anger can be as bad as killing someone. Think of it this way. One of the biggest lies that we've heard as kids is that silly phrase, "Sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me." Words can and do hurt. You know that. You know the mean things that people have said to you, and maybe you know how your words have hurt others. Killing somebody doesn't just mean making their heart stop. Killing somebody can be about killing their spirit. And saying words in anger to them can do that. So that's an important thing for us to remember. It's not just about making somebody's body stop and making their heart stop beating. We can kill them with our words. The next one that he talks about is adultery. And here Jesus says that even if you look at someone with lust, you've committed adultery with them in your heart. Well, today, again, we might say, whoa, that's not true. There's a difference between looking at somebody and then actually committing adultery with them. But Jesus says, no, it's not. Because in both cases, you're treating the person as some kind of object that you can use. You are not seeing them as a treasured, beloved child of God just like you. Jesus even goes on to say that if you look at somebody like this, it would be better for you to chop off your hand and gouge out your eye. Well, Jesus doesn't want you to maim your own body, okay? What he's saying is basically, if you're willing to treat them as an object, then treat yourself as an object too. Chop off your own body parts. If you're willing to see them as just some thing that you can use for your own self, for your own pleasure, for your own desires, then chop off your own body. Look at yourself as just body parts then. This is serious business, okay? Jesus also talks some here about divorce. Now, there are people today who have been through divorce. Maybe you've been through it, or maybe you know people who have been through it. You know how awful it can be. We know that sometimes relationships don't work out. This isn't God's intention, right? God wants us to have healthy relationships that work out and people love each other. But sometimes they don't. Sometimes two people would be better off being apart than together. We know this. And Jesus knows this. When he talks about divorce here, he's not saying that two people should stay together forever, even if they're not good for one another. What he's saying is basically don't treat divorce as an ejection seat. If you're having some kind of marital trouble, talk it out. Try to work it out together. Work on that relationship. If the relationship is beyond repair, then the divorce happens. But don't just say, oh, you did something to upset me, now I'm going to divorce you. Okay, no, it doesn't work like that. Relationships are much too important. Then Jesus also talks about oaths or promises or swearing. Not as in saying bad words, but like, I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so on and so on. What Jesus is saying here, when he talks about not swearing oaths, is that you should be truthful in and of yourself. You should be so reliable that you don't need to swear. You don't need some witness to say, hey, my words are true. You should be able to do that on your own. You should be of such good character that people trust what you say without you having to take an oath to promise that what you say is the truth. So there's a lot of good stuff in this section, lots of good stuff that still applies to our lives today. So go ahead and take a look at it, Matthew 5, 21 through 37. There's your 5-minute Bible study for the day. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.